You know, there is a very strong movement in America today to get Christ out of Christmas. There are so many people that are offended by the thought or the concept of using Christ in Christmas. They say that it takes away from their rights. It takes away from their religious beliefs because of the word Christmas. They want to say happy holidays. Well, let me tell you something. Over the years, because of the fact that they have tried to take Christ out of Christmas, it has been devastating to America. I mean, it's even gotten to the place within the last few years that they have challenged In God We Trust. And it's gone as far as to the Supreme Court to try to take In God We Trust off of our American currency. We know the results of what has happened to this country as a result of taking prayer out of the schools. You know, we are living in a society to where that we're trying to appease everybody and make them happy or content without, God help us, or God forbid that we would offend anybody by saying Christmas. Instead, they want to say happy holidays. Well, let me tell you something. When we take Christ out of Christmas and Christ out of the holidays, and we just change it from Merry Christmas to Happy Holidays, we have literally taken something out of this country that we cannot afford to take out of this country. This nation was founded upon Christian principles. Our fathers, our forefathers, came from Europe for the extinct privilege and for the very reason that they could worship freely and worship Christ. We cannot and we will not take Christ out of Christmas. God is the one that has created us. God is the one that gives us life. Think about it. Here it is, the holiday season. This is the time that we worship and celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, the greatest man that has ever lived, that lived and died and rose again. Fannie J. Crosby was born in 1820. At 6 weeks of age, she had an eye infection, and as a result of this, she was blind. She died in February of 1915, just 1 month shy of her 95th birthday. But did you know that during all of these years that she lived, in those almost 95 years, she wrote over 1,000 poems and songs and hymnals. She had over 200 pseudonyms because during her lifetime, the time that she's writing so many songs, the songbooks were filled literally with her hymns and with her songs and her worship. And because of that, she had as I mentioned, over 200 pseudonyms because the publishers did not want her name in every songbook. This is a woman that, even though she was blind, had more spiritual insight than many of us do with all of our sight and with all of our functions and with all of our physical being intact. But even though she was blind physically, she could see spiritually. And this is somebody, Fannie J. Crosby, that was never offended by the cross of Jesus. She never became weary. She never became tired of hearing about the old story of Jesus. I remember when I was growing up at home, just even as a child, I nearly wore my mother out by asking her to tell me the story of Joseph. There was something about the story of Joseph, how that he was sold by his brothers, how that he was thrown into a pit, how he was sold into slavery, and how that from that, even being cast into prison, he rose in prominence to become the ruler of Egypt, only under Pharaoh. There was something about that story that fascinated me. Well, let me tell you something. There is a story that is more fascinating than that, and that is the story of Jesus. In 1880, Fannie J. Crosby wrote and published a song entitled "Tell Me the Story of Jesus." She talks about it in this song. Right on my heart, every word. She even mentioned in one of the verses of the song, she says, "This is a love. I love that old story. It is a story that even is clearer than I could ever see. See, because even with her natural eyes, she knew that she could not see the physical world. But I will tell you for a fact that Fannie J. Crosby saw a lot in the Spirit, much more than what we many times see. But because of that song, Tell Me the Story of Jesus, that and many other songs that she wrote, she says in this song, tell me the story and write it on my heart. Tell me about how that in his anguish he went to the cross. Tell me about how he rose again. And I'm telling you today, we should never, and I pray to God that America never gets to the place to where we take Christ out of Christmas, take Christ out of our lives, take Christ out of our worship, take Christ out of our family. Whenever that happens, that's when this nation will fall. But that's the song that Fannie J. Crosby wrote in 1880. She said, tell me that story of Jesus. Tell me the story of Jesus. Write on my heart every word. Tell me that story most precious, the sweetest that ever was heard. Tell how the angels in chorus sang as they welcomed his birth. Glory to God in the highest, peace and good tidings to earth. Just tell me the story of Jesus. Write on my heart every word. Tell me that story most precious, the sweetest that ever was heard. Fasting alone in the desert, tell of the days that are past. Tell me how for sins that he was tempted, yet he was triumphant at last. Tell of the years of his labor, and tell of the sorrows that he bore. He was despised and afflicted, homeless, rejected, and poor. Oh, thank God for that cross. Tell of the cross where they nailed him, writhing there in anguish and in pain. And tell me about the grave where they laid him. Tell how he liveth again. Love in that story so tender, clearer than I could ever see. Stay, let me weep while you whisper It was love that paid the ransom for me. Just tell me the story of Jesus. Write on my heart every word. Tell me the story most precious, the sweetest that ever was heard. The sweetest that ever was heard. Tell me the old story. Well, I want to say that during this holiday season, during this Christmas season, I hope that you never become tired and you never become weary of hearing the old story of Jesus, because it is the story of Jesus that keeps us alive. Keeping Christ in Christmas, keeping Christ in our life, keeping Jesus in our hearts, and in everything we do is our only hope. It is for sure the only hope of America, and it is the only hope of the world. God bless you and have a Merry Christmas.